Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Let's make some adjustments here. You can see the computer in the mirror, so it's a little science fiction-like, but that's probably a good thing. That's what makes mirroring so interesting and powerful. And let's adjust the lights. That should work a little bit. Sorry, guys. There we go. That should be all right. I'll sit right in front of it. Hello. Good. Thank you. So today I thought we would do some mirroring practice, and we would deal with the feelings of isolation. Again, I'm so sorry that this is, there we go. Feelings of isolation, things that, big topic now, coming a couple of years out of COVID. Our world has changed quite a bit. Just the way people work, the way people communicate. My own personal experience, I see that the feelings of isolation have increased over the last 5 years with people in society, the way people communicate. So let's do something about that. Now, not everybody is feeling isolated, and that's okay. And I'm not trying to say, oh, okay, you need to feel isolated in order to practice this video. But maybe we just get some concepts, and these concepts may work for you in terms of connecting to releasing feelings of isolation, but also in terms of understanding how to manage your own feelings or unwanted feelings about any topic. So mirroring will help you mirroring practice with me will help you to become aware of dominant feelings, and hopefully even within the context of this video that you'll see some shifts, feeling a little bit better, feeling a sense of relief, maybe more grounded, who knows what. So for those of you who know me or know my work, you know that I wrote this book called The Zen of Solo Travel, and you know that part of the coaching work that I do is to teach people to take journeys by themselves as a practice of personal awakening. In other words, what we're teaching people is to feel a sense of detaching from all their relationship connections, all their emotional patterns, getting in the car or planning a trip, something that we do together in our coaching programs, and then visualizing leaving everything behind, setting forth onto the road, seeing the road as a kind of healing elixir, a kind of psychological medicine for the soul. Just a little bit, there you go. And so that is a powerful concept. And going solo, having a solo journey experience, detaching consciously and intentionally, is not quite creating an isolated feeling, but is more about experiencing solitude. So let's immediately think about the difference. Isolation, the way it lands on me, is a very unwanted feeling. It's a feeling of wanting connection and you can't have it. Wanting connection and feel like you're being rejected, alienated, abandoned by people, places, and things, by the world, by your family, by friends, by money, by your work, any of those things. So isolation lands on me as a negative experience, whereas the intentional leaving lands on me as a practice of creating solitude, where what you're doing is on purpose detaching from patterns that you're used to so that you can have a feeling of release and experience a kind of a joy, a satisfaction of feeling alone. So first things first, we can sense that where are we on the emotional scale? When you think about isolation, we're probably lower on the scale. We want to be up here, which is as close to calm, the calm of the forest, the calm of nature. And we don't want to be dominant down here in despair when it's like we can't even leave bed. So the sense of solo or solitude, which is an experience that I'm trying to coach people to experience, that's much higher on the scale. So the intentionality by choosing to be alone is a beautiful thing, as opposed to isolation, where there's probably a lot more going on internally that's negative and unwanted, rather than an intentional wanted connection with your own relationship to yourself. So you probably, if you're isolated, you're probably feeling disconnected from yourself. Let's go into some mirroring right away about that. Just practice with me, mirror back exactly what you hear me saying so that you can take these affirmations and feel as if you're connecting with me, that you don't have to think, and say them out loud, because the practice then will yield a kind of a soothing in your mind, an awareness of new ideas, a connecting to new ideas, and a feeling of uplift and relief that can happen through the mirroring of these affirmations. So let's begin. Mirror it back exactly as you hear it. Sometimes my life brings me to feelings of isolation. This means mirror that back. This is me saying, hey, say that back out loud exactly as you hear it. So sometimes my life brings me to feelings of isolation. This is me noticing that emotional experience right now. Mirror that. I can simply notice the emotional pattern as it happens within me. I don't need to judge myself. I don't need to correct myself. Mirroring that back. I can simply notice that this is a part of my life. I can allow myself to realize that isolation does happen for me. Good job to start. Excellent. So, what are we doing there? These initial affirmations that I'm offering to mirror back the awareness of isolated feelings, that's what we're trying to do, is notice the power that the emotion has inside of us without it overtaking us. When we have unwanted feelings, feelings of rage, of despair, of anxiety, of feeling betrayed, certainly isolated would feel in that, it would fit into that. What we want to do in order to get more control of these feelings is simply notice them. That's the starting point. That's where you get your boat in the water. How? By just noticing the feeling and letting the feeling be felt. I spend a lot of time doing energy work. I walk and walk and walk. I walk 5 miles a day on average, sometimes more. And all of that walking is something that helps me to start the day and do what? To let my feelings be felt. I may wake up in the morning and feel terrible feelings. Some of you may know that I have complex PTSD that came from a traumatizing childhood. I still have it. Just because I'm helping people, I'm coaching people, doesn't mean that those feelings are somehow gone. I wake up with this condition and I walk. And when I walk, I allow myself to feel those unwanted feelings. So, this first part of the practice that we did about isolation is just noticing this is what it feels like when isolation comes upon me. This is what happens in my body when I'm noticing the isolation. I'm not going to blame myself. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to blame other people. I'm going to simply notice the physiological experience. Oh, there's that isolating feeling inside me. That's what it feels like. And this is me noticing it. Now, why are we doing that? Think of it this way. Do you know those like old Russian dolls that you could sort of unscrew and there's a smaller one, and then you unscrew the next one and there's a smaller one, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller? To me, feelings are like that. Now, if we don't have awareness of a feeling, then that isolation, I'm alone, people have rejected me, I've been betrayed, I've been abandoned, there's no one who's interested in me, I have to stick it out all by myself, I'm going to go to sleep tonight not having any communication with any people and be upset about it. Those kinds of feelings, okay? If we have those feelings, feeling separate, feeling disconnected, and they're deep, then you sit there with the idea of there's that little doll, okay? Noticing those feelings as they are, noticing how they are in your body. The process of the noticing is sort of like experiencing a larger doll, that there's another larger version of you that is able to sort of wrap itself around the difficult feeling. So without changing the feeling, you could simply notice, hi, this entity, boom, there's the isolation. I know it. I'm familiar with it. But the noticing of it allows me to expand myself. I'm more than just the isolation that is gripping my body. I am the person noticing the isolation that is gripping my body. So all of a sudden now you become a larger doll, that there's another wider version of you that maybe you haven't conquered the feeling yet. We don't want to conquer the feeling, but the simple awareness of the feeling, now you are developing awareness energy that wraps itself around the isolation energy inside you. And that itself, the noticing and the realizing that the noticing itself creates a wider layer of your own emotional entity, that may bring you some relief right away. That may help you to realize that unwanted feelings are there for me to work with. And that if I notice them, instead of them consuming me, instead of me being identified with the feeling, oh, I am always isolated, this is me, and I'm stuck here and I can't do anything about it. The noticing, this is me noticing that feeling, all of a sudden it's a dialogue internally, and you're not simply suffering, but you are engaged with the suffering. So the engagement, the noticing, the relating to it is where we begin to create some space for that feeling. Good. So let's go a little bit further. Isolation is a difficult feeling. It's a difficult feeling to have. You're by yourself. You feel like you're suffering. And as I said before, there are probably other feelings related to it. Isolation, when I hear that word, it sounds like somebody's done something to me. I've become isolated, that maybe I've been rejected, that maybe I feel like the world is against me, or maybe I feel like my family doesn't understand me and I'm not connecting. So the feeling itself within the word of isolation, within the meaning of that word isolation, it's as if there are relationships happening for you that are dissatisfying. So it's like the difference between solitude and isolation. Solitude is choosing to have a satisfying relationship with yourself. Isolation is a feeling as if I don't have relationships with other people. I'm suffering because I'm alone. I'm suffering because the world has rejected me. I'm suffering because I've been betrayed. So when you look at that, now you can understand that isolation is complex. It is a meaning that we create for ourselves based on our relationships with other people. And on top of that, because the isolation might be there, it might be there because of our current conditions. But if we are not able to turn our isolation into solitude, then we might want to look at that isolation and go, okay, as I'm noticing it, I'm realizing that this feeling of being isolated comes from a lot of history. Just because I feel isolated right now, maybe it's a recent feeling for you, if you have it, that Embedded in those feelings, all those other complex, unwanted feelings, betrayed, abandoned, rejected, those feelings go deep and they have a long tail. And this is where that idea of momentum comes into play. The sense of that, the isolation that we may feel chronically, is often coming from a series of feelings that we experience for a long time, maybe even as far back as childhood, and that these feelings are feelings that have been with us because of experiences, because of our caretakers, because of school, any of those things. That the feeling started early, and it has power because you have recognized and experienced this feeling for a long, long time. It's like a window on your computer that you've left open for many, many years. So it's sort of crowding your mindset. It's crowding your software, your hard drive, the hard drive within ourselves. If the isolation that we have now is dominant, that means that that and other deep unwanted feelings that are connected to other people in our lives have started a long time ago. And so that dominance of that feeling is a big part of what is bringing us into the current state of isolation. So let's try some mirroring off that. I realize that this isolation started a long time ago. Mirror that back. There are things that happen into my life. Start again. There are things that happened to me that brought me a sense of isolation. I went through things long ago that triggered me into this unwanted feeling. I'm going to say that again, and we'll break it up. I went through things long ago, mirror that back, that triggered me into this intense feeling. I may feel isolated now, but the feeling has been with me for a long time. Good. So taking a breath into those affirmations, into the practice with me. I hope you're enjoying practicing with me. I'm doing this alone, but I feel a sense of solitude because I'm not alone. I'm with all of you who are watching now, all of you who will be watching. Bless all of you. So I could be here being alone, but I'm not isolated. I'm not isolated. I'm connected to myself. I'm connected to my gifts. And those gifts have a long tail. Those gifts have been with me for a long time. We start realizing that a feeling that has power over us is usually a feeling that has been with us again and again and again and again and again. And now maybe raising its ugly head in a present moment, in a post-COVID era, that we may feel isolated. But let's notice not just the feeling now, but notice the feeling as it's been for a long, long, long time. Yes, very good comment. Alone, but not isolated, means in solitude with myself. Mirror this back. I am a relational being. I'm a relational being. My life connects to other people. Nothing good happens for me. Let me erase that one. Don't do that. Good things come to me when I become aware of other people. Mirror that back. Very, very good. It's okay that this feeling has been with me for a long time. Even though this feeling has been around for a while, I can be okay with it. Isolation may be an unwanted feeling, but it's a feeling that I am having. Since I'm having it, then that feeling is mine. Let's stay with that. Unwanted feelings are a bummer. Like I said, I suffer from PTSD. I'm a healer, but I'm a wounded healer. And it really stinks having a feeling of like your whole brain is collapsing and confusion and all kinds of thoughts that really don't represent me, and a feeling of like tightness in my body and irregularity and dysfunction, all these things that happen. And thank God for my walks, because my walks really get me straight. The thing is, I can say about the PTSD and I can see where it came from. I can see, one, I created it. I created that PTSD as a child. I needed to survive. And we're talking about isolation as the core feeling. But one way or the other, if we look at these core unwanted feelings and start changing our mindset, start saying, oh, that unwanted feeling is mine. And it might be unwanted, but it's mine, so I can be okay with it. My teacher, for those of you who don't know, is Alejandro Jodorowsky, 95 years old, lives in Paris. He's made some of the best cinematic avant-garde films that have ever been made. He's a therapist. He's an expert tarot reader. And there's just so much about him that is just beautiful. Alejandro Jodorowsky. And one of his great lines I remember him saying, if God gives you cake and you don't like the cake, eat the cake, because the cake came from God or the universe or whatever word you want to put on there. In other words, we may be facing a deep unwanted feeling, that we may have had for a long, long, long time, and we want to get rid of it. We want to fix it. We want to break the pattern. I want to end it. This feeling that I have is mine. I can be okay with it. I like this feeling of isolation. Why? Because it's mine. And why is it mine? Because I'm having it, but not just that, it makes sense to me. The feeling makes sense to me. Validation. If I can notice and notice deeply, and I could go, oh, of course, because when I was a child and mom was never home, or when I was in high school and I was being picked on and nobody helped me, or when I needed to get a job and there was nobody around to help me and I had to go around and write out all these applications and I didn't know who the people were at the store or any of that. Of course, I'm making all these examples up, but these are examples that of things that can trigger us into isolation. And the isolation is not just a feeling it just happened because of those situations. It's a feeling that we have been dealing with for a long time. That's my feeling. I've had it for a while. That's my feeling. I can be okay with it because it's mine. I've been given this feeling. I don't like it, but I'm noticing it and it's mine, so I can be okay with it. Now, it's funny because we're not eliminating it. We're not taking a pill. We're not, being able to turn it on and off. We're working with it. We're making sense of the feeling. We're noticing the feeling. And these kinds of practices help us to become more compassionate to ourselves. And that's what we really want here, is the isolation ought to be a starting point for noticing. And the noticing lets you realize I can move this feeling by noticing, by owning the feeling, accepting the feeling. The feeling will move. I have more control of it. And now I can say, oh, I'm creating. I'm creating. Isolation is the material that I've been given. And now that I'm noticing it, now that I'm validating it, it makes sense that I'm having this feeling. Now I can notice myself feel a little bit of a break from it. I could feel maybe a tear or a cough or a little bit of a little rage coming out. Those are the feelings releasing. Those are the feelings moving. And that sense of the movement of these feelings in our body into tears, into a cough, into a little bit of rage release, into a laugh. Those kinds of physiological experiences show us that we're moving up the emotional scale. And I'll tell you real quick, but you can go to some of my other videos. Despair, anxiety, rage, sadness, and calm. Calm like the forest. Not just calm like quiet, calm on the inside. Calm on the inside. That calm happens in all our relations. So if we take this disturbing feeling and we notice it, this is me noticing the feeling, and we see how far back it goes. This is me seeing how much power it's had over time. And we realize the noticing lets us be a larger field of being. And we start making sense of the feeling. Oh, of course I have this feeling. COVID, I'll do it for me. COVID shut down all my workshops. Everybody's staying at home now. I live in a very isolating area. I don't know anybody here. I moved here for reasons not because I wanted to, but because of my family. Now I'm still here, but I don't really feel connected to other people. This is me noticing. This is me noticing that. So as we bring this live stream to a close, let's try to establish some better feelings out of this. Mirroring back. Even when I have unwanted feelings, I can simply notice those feelings. And when I notice those feelings, the feelings move. The momentum of my feelings shift. So by noticing these feelings and letting those feelings take up space, I become bigger. I become more compassionate to myself. I begin to see these emotions as fuel. I no longer see these emotions as a problem. And I start having a better relationship with myself. So for those of you who are watching, let's do that last one once again. I can have a better relationship with myself. Mirroring that back. When I am with me, I'm not isolated. When I am with me, negative feelings wash away. When I am with me, I'm connected to my own authenticity. When I am with me, I feel alive. Really, really good work. Thank you for those of you who are commenting. Thank you. I can see Alexis, alone but not isolated. Excellent comments. For those of you who are going to watch the recording later, thank you for taking part in this. Please let me know what you learned from this. I love the comments. Let me know what I got from the practice. And if you want to go deeper, you could try an intro session with me on Zoom. Just go send me an email at contact@michaeljasonsherman.com. All the stuff is in the description. Or you can go to Instagram. Go to Healing Momentum is my tag on Instagram. Send me a DM. Just, hey, I'm interested in this. What would it take? It's not very expensive at all. And we set it up. We talk about what's going on. And then we have a Zoom meeting. And you get a sense of what it's like to practice mirroring with me directly. So follow up with that with comments, inquiries about sessions, about an intro session. And also check out the book. I'll give you, hang on one second. The book, The Zen of Solo Travel, is in its 10th year this month. September 2014, I came out with this. This is this book where I chose to go to Japan alone to deal with all kinds of issues. Am I going to stay with my wife? Am I going to leave her? Or am I going to say yes to becoming a parent? Am I going to be able to do that with all the mental illness that I suffered from my own father? All kinds of stuff. And I went to Japan to work it out. I say in the back, adopt a baby or get divorced. Either decision would force Michael Jason Sherman into a world of trouble. Well, I wound up with 2 babies and 1 divorce, and they live up the hill. And tomorrow I'm going to celebrate my own birthday with them. So one way or the other, for all of us, it's all going to work out for us. And the idea of solitude, movement, those concepts, noticing, the healing power of the road and the healing power of mirroring the movement within us from noticing. Those kinds of practices will really help us to expand who we are, to feel a deep sense of solitude in our own relationship with ourselves, and to shift the dynamics within us, become more aware of what's happening between me and the other people in my life or in society that's leading to these feelings of isolation. You folks who have been my audience today, I can see a few of you out there. Thank you. Many, many, many blessings. Feel free to connect with me. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, thank you for practicing. Thank you for watching. And thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you, my friend. You guys are the best. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace and blessings.